Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Tomorrow, President Biden will travel to Durham, North Carolina to kick off the Investing in America tour with a visit to Wolfspeed, a manufacturer of semiconductor chips that is investing $5 billion to expand their North Carolina operations and create 1,800 good paying jobs right here at home. Over the next 3 weeks of this tour, the President, Vice President, First Lady, Second Gentleman, and members of the Cabinet will fan out over 20 states across the country to visit communities benefiting from Investing in America agenda.
Here we go again.
This includes places that are seeing new and expanded manufacturing facilities and creating new jobs thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act and CHIPS and Science Act, groundbreakings of new infrastructure projects funded by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and small businesses that stayed afloat or started because of help from the American Rescue Plan. They'll highlight not only the impact of President's economic agenda in these communities, but also what's at stake if MAGA Republicans in Congress get their way and repeal the Inflation Reduction Act. Hike taxes on hardworking families and slash funding for manufacturing, innovation, and research. As the president likes to say, budgets are a statement of values. That's why his budget cuts taxes for working people and families with children by almost $800 billion. And it pays for that by asking the super wealthy and large corporations to pay their fair share, all while not raising taxes at all for anyone making less than $400,000 per year. Tax proposals from MAGA House Republicans look very different. They want to add over $3 trillion to the debt, with giveaways skewed to the wealthy and large corporations. And even with those huge tax cuts, they're also advancing proposals that would raise taxes for middle-class families, hardworking Americans, and seniors. Now they've even suggested they won't release a budget so they can hide how much of their deep and harmful program cuts are just paying for their tax cuts.
Great word.
That's irresponsible and not supported at all by the American people.
No.
And while Republicans in Congress are pushing for tax breaks for ultra-wealthy and large corporations, they're also introducing measures to deny millions of their own middle-class constituents from getting the student debt relief they need and deserve. We're talking about more than 2.1 million borrowers who have applied for student debt relief in Texas, more than 380,000 borrowers in Louisiana, more than 250,000 borrowers in Iowa. These are hardworking borrowers who, for the most part, make less than $75,000 a year. They're asking for a little extra breathing room as they prepare for loan payments to restart. And how are their Republicans elected officials responding? They're bent on denying middle-class families the relief they need, while at the same time slashing Pell Grants to provide a $3 trillion tax giveaway to the ultra-wealthy and corporations. These are the same Republican officials who voted to forgive hundreds of thousands of dollars in PPP loans for businesses. Some even had their own loans forgiven, as you've heard the president speak to many times.
You sure about that?
So I want to be very clear here. President Biden will continue to fight for the middle class families as he has been this past 2 years in his presidency.
Okay.
The president has also made clear he will veto H.R. 1, another bill that House Republicans have put forward to drive energy costs up for middle-class families, pad the pockets of big oil companies, and endanger the health and safety of all Americans. H.R. 1 would double the cost of energy efficiency upgrades that families need to reduce household bills. It would repeal key provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act to cut energy costs and boost economic development. It would eliminate pollution control requirements that prohibit big companies from polluting the air we breathe. And it will allow petroleum refineries that use hydrofluoric acid, a highly toxic chemical known to cause severe burns, eye damage, declassification of bones, to avoid any requirements to consider safer alternative. It is no wonder the bill was endorsed by big oil companies. And with that, Amr, thank you for your patience.
Of course.
Kick it off.
On
on Nashville, pointed to last year's bipartisan reforms, as well as alluded to the executive actions, I think, of just a few weeks ago. And then you also point it's not a panacea, but is there any disappointment from the administration that these efforts haven't had more of effect on lessening the scourge of terrible violence?
Well, I don't have the data in front of me on what the president's executive actions has been able to do. Clearly, those are actions that are that he was able to do on the federal level. But the president has been very clear. We need to take more action. We actually need to ban assault weapons. We need to take more action so that our children are safe in schools, so that our communities are not torn apart. And we've been very clear about that. The president's going to continue to be consistent. He mentioned that at the State of the Union when he had an opportunity to just not speak in front of Congress, but also speak in front of the American people. We have to do more. The president has done almost as much as he can from the federal level to show how important this is to him.
It's too late now.
Yeah.
And this is something that he has been working on since he was senator, right? 30 years ago, when the first assault ban weapons passed, it was because of the work, partially of then Senator Biden. So again, he's going to continue to call on Congress to act. This is, we can't keep seeing what we saw today. Right now, we're hearing 6 elementary kids, dead.
3 kids and 3 adults.
And so this cannot be happening. Our administrators, our educators their lives can't be put on the line here when they're going to teach our kids. And the president's going to continue to speak out, and Congress needs to act.
Mm-hmm. If I could just ask about, in Israel, before you got out here, Prime Minister Netanyahu announced his decision to delay action on the judicial overhaul until the next parliament session. One, just generally, do you have any reaction? And 2, does delaying meet the administration's concerns on consensus, calls for consensus and compromise?
As you just mentioned,
Hey, that's pretty good.
right before I came out, we heard from the Prime Minister of Israel. I do have a couple of things to say about his remarks. So we welcome this announcement as an opportunity to create additional time and space for compromise. Compromise is precisely what we have been calling for. And we continue to strongly urge Israeli leaders to find a compromise as soon as possible. We believe that it is the best path forward for Israel and all of its citizens to find this compromise. Democratic societies are strengthened by checks and balances, and fundamental changes to a democratic system should be pursued with the broadest possible base of popular support. And so that's what we're going to continue to call for.